The bullet tore through Nana Rose's shoulder before Marcus could even scream. 1 second he was just a homeless kid shivering in a corner booth. The next glass exploded everywhere, and an old woman in a leather vest collapsed in a pool of blood 3 feet away from him. He had 2 choices: run like he'd been running his whole life, or crawl through that broken glass and drag a stranger to safety. What he didn't know was that stranger had been carrying his photograph for 14 years, waiting for this exact moment. Welcome to our channel, family. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button because this story will grip your heart and never let go. Drop a comment telling us what city you're watching from. We love seeing how far these stories travel. Now stay with me because what happens next will change everything. The rain hadn't stopped for 3 days straight. Marcus Cole pressed himself deeper into the shadows of the bus shelter, watching water cascade off the rusted metal roof like a curtain separating him from the rest of the world. His stomach cramped with a familiar emptiness 46 hours since his last real meal. The half-eaten burger he'd found behind the McDonald's on Gratiote Avenue didn't count. That was survival. That was shame wrapped in soggy bread. He was 14 years old, though most people guessed 17 from the hardness in his eyes. 3 months on the streets had aged him in ways that couldn't be measured in days. Just find somewhere dry, he whispered to himself, teeth chattering. Just one night. His sneakers squelched against the pavement as he pushed off from the shelter and headed down Michigan Avenue. The industrial stretch of Detroit sprawled around him, abandoned factories flickering streetlights, and the occasional rumble of a semi-truck hauling goods to places where people actually wanted to be. The neon sign caught his eye first. Half the letters were dead, but he could make out enough "The Iron Horse." A roadhouse. The kind of place where questions weren't asked, and nobody looked twice at a wet kid seeking warmth. Marcus hesitated at the door. Through the fogged glass, he could see bodies hunched over a bar, the blue glow of a television, the amber warmth of cheap beer signs. His hand trembled on the handle. "You going in, or what?" He spun around. A man in a trucker cap stood behind him, cigarette dangling from his lips, impatience carved into every line of his weathered face. "Sorry," Marcus mumbled, pulling the door open and slipping inside. The smell hit him first, stale beer-fried food, and decades of cigarette smoke baked into every surface. A jukebox in the corner played something old and country, the singer's voice crackling through speakers that had seen better days. Marcus found a corner booth with torn vinyl seats and slid in, making himself as small as possible. He pulled his hood up, crossed his arms over his chest, and focused on not shaking. "Get you something?" The waitress appeared out of nowhere, mid-50s, tired eyes, name tag, reading Diane. She held an order pad like a weapon. Just water, please." She looked at him for a long moment. Marcus braced for the inevitable, the demand to order something real, or get out the threat to call someone, the look of disgust that usually preceded his ejection from places like this. Instead, she sighed. "Kitchen's about to close. You want some fries on the house?" What Marcus blinked. Yeah. Thank you." "Don't thank me yet. They've been sitting under the heat lamp for an hour." She walked away without waiting for a response. If stories like this are already hitting different, take a second to like this video and subscribe. Trust me, you're going to want to see where this goes. Marcus let his gaze drift around the room while he waited. Truckers mostly scattered across booths and bar stools, nursing beers and avoiding conversation. A couple in the back argued in whispers that occasionally broke into hisses. Near the pool table, 2 men chalked cues and circled the green felt like predators. And then he saw her. At the far end of the bar sat an old woman who didn't belong. Silver hair tucked under a faded red bandana, leather vest worn soft with age patches covering nearly every inch. Even from across the room, Marcus could make out the rockers Steel Legion MC on top, Detroit on the bottom. And in the center, a wolf's head with angel wings spread wide. She sat perfectly still, coffee cup cradled in weathered hands, eyes fixed on something beyond the rain-streaked windows. Something far away. Something only she could see. "Nana Rose, you want a warm-up." The bartender big guy, beard like a brush fire, tattoos climbing up both arms, held up a coffee pot. The old woman shook her head once, slow and deliberate. "I'm fine, Bobby. Just waiting." "Waiting for what?" She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "The thing I've been waiting for since 1987. Bobby laughed like she'd told a joke, but something in the sound rang hollow. He moved on to other customers, leaving her alone with her cold coffee and distant stare. Marcus couldn't explain why he kept watching her. Maybe it was the stillness, the way she sat like a stone in a stream while chaos flowed around her. Maybe it was the patches on her vest, the history they represented, the stories they told. Or maybe it was something else entirely, something that felt like recognition even though he'd never seen her before in his life. Diane returned with the fries. They were cold, soggy, and absolutely perfect. Marcus ate slowly, savoring each one, making them last, because he didn't know when the next meal would come. That's when the door opened. 3 men walked in. Not truckers, not locals. Their leather was too new, their boots too clean, their eyes too sharp. They wore black from head to toe, and they moved with a coordination that spoke of practice, of purpose. They didn't sit down. They didn't order anything. They just spread out, one near the door, one by the pool table, one drifting toward the bar. Marcus's stomach tightened. He'd seen men like this before, in shelters on street corners in the moments before everything went wrong. They weren't here for beer and company. They were here for something else. Nana Rose noticed them too. Marcus could tell by the way her spine straightened almost imperceptibly, the way her left hand drifted toward the napkin holder beside her coffee cup, the way her eyes finally came back from whatever distant place they'd been visiting. "Bobby," her voice cut through the jukebox like a blade. "You got my package behind the counter." The bartender's face went pale. "Nana Rose, I don't think—" "Wasn't asking what you think, son. Asked if you got my package." Bobby reached under the bar and produced a brown paper bag, sliding it across the wood toward her. Nana Rose's hand disappeared inside and came out gripping something metal and heavy. Marcus's breath caught in his throat. The man by the pool table was watching her now. His fingers tapped against his thigh in a rhythm that matched Marcus's heartbeat, fast, irregular, building toward something. The old woman's voice dropped to a whisper that somehow carried across the room. "Been a long time since anyone tried something this stupid in my house." The pool table man smiled. "Your house, old woman, you don't own anything anymore. Not this bar, not this city, not even that dusty vest you're wearing. Boy, I was burying men like you before your mama learned to walk." Times change. He pulled back his jacket, revealing the pistol tucked into his waistband. "Old dogs get put down." Everything happened at once. The jukebox clicked to a new song, something slow and mournful. The couple in the back booth stopped arguing and ducked below the table. Bobby the bartender hit the floor behind the counter so fast Marcus barely saw him move. And the first shot shattered the television above the bar. Now, if you're sitting on the edge of your seat right now, you're feeling exactly what Marcus felt in that moment. But I promise you it gets even more intense. Stay with me. Marcus threw himself sideways, crashing out of the booth and onto the sticky floor. His ears rang from the gunshot, his vision swimming with adrenaline and fear. Glass rained down from somewhere above the neon beer sign, exploding in a shower of sparks and colored shards. More shots. 3, 4, 5. He lost count. Screams tangled with the sound of breaking bottles, splintering wood, the thunder of boots as people scrambled for cover, or ran for exits that might as well have been miles away. He pressed himself flat against the floor cheek, against the cold, dirty tile, and watched everything unfold in fragments. The man by the door had a gun out now, firing at someone behind the bar. The pool table man was moving toward Nana Rose, his own weapon raised. The third shooter, Marcus couldn't see him, could only hear the crack of his pistol somewhere off to the right. And Nana Rose. Nana Rose was fighting back. The old woman moved faster than anyone her age had a right to move. She'd flipped the bar stool beside her into the path of the pool table man, buying herself a precious second. Her hand came up with the revolver from the paper bag, and she squeezed off 2 shots that punched holes in the wall inches from his head. "Is that all you got?" she shouted. "Send your whole crew next time, you coward." But she was outgunned, outmanned, and she knew it. The pool table man recovered, took aim, and fired. Marcus saw it happen in slow motion. The bullet caught Nana Rose in the left shoulder, spinning her half around, sending her crashing into a row of bar stools. She hit the floor, hard revolver skittering away across the tile, blood already spreading beneath her. She groaned a sound so human, so vulnerable, that something inside Marcus cracked wide open. He'd heard that sound before. 5 years ago, in a stairwell that smelled like mold and copper, his mother crumpling against the railing, looking at him with eyes that held more love than fear, even as the life drained out of them. "Run, baby. Run and don't stop." He'd run. He'd run so fast and so far that he'd never stopped running, not really. Not even when he slept, because his dreams always brought him back to that stairwell, that sound, that look in her eyes. But tonight he couldn't run. Tonight. "I can't," he whispered, and didn't know if he was talking to his mother's ghost or to himself. "I can't leave her." Marcus crawled forward on his belly, moving through spilled beer and broken glass that bit into his palms like tiny teeth. The shooting had slowed. The men were shouting to each other now, coordinating hunting. Someone was reloading near the door. 20 feet to Nana Rose, or 10. He could see her clearly now. Silver hair matted with blood, and beer face pale as paper chest, rising and falling in shallow, desperate hitches. Her eyes were open, staring at the ceiling, alive but fading. "Hey!" Marcus reached her side, grabbing her arm. "Hey, can you hear me? We gotta move." Her head turned toward him. Those gray-blue eyes, sharp even through the pain, fierce even through the fear, locked onto his face with an intensity that made his skin prickle. "You," her voice came out as a rasp. "You're real. What lady, come on, I thought I dreamed you." She laughed, or tried to. It came out as a wet cough. "All these years, I thought she lied." "Who lied? What are you talking about?" A bullet slammed into the bar above their heads, showering them with wood splinters. "Leave me," Nana Rose hissed, grabbing his wrist with surprising strength. "Get out while you can." "Not happening." Marcus hooked his arms under hers and started dragging. "Which way?" "There a back door." "Kitchen. But my bike. Forget the bike." "No." Her grip tightened, nails digging into his skin. "Keys are in my vest. Pocket left side. Take them. Take me to my bike." "Lady, you've been shot." Her eyes blazed. "Boy, I've been shot before. I've been stabbed, beaten, left for dead in places you can't even imagine. A bullet won't kill me. But if you don't get those keys and get us to that bike in the next 60 seconds, those men will kill us both." Marcus's hands shook as he fumbled inside her vest. His fingers closed around cold metal keys attached to a ring with a tiny wolf charm that matched the patch over her heart. "Got them." "Good. Now help me up." He pulled her to her feet, her weight sagging against him. She was smaller than he'd realized, 5'2" at most, 100 pounds soaking wet. But she felt heavier than anyone he'd ever carried. The weight of history, maybe. The weight of all those patches. They staggered toward the kitchen door, Nana Rose's boots dragging across the floor, leaving smears of blood in their wake, behind them shouting. Footsteps. the click of fresh magazines being slammed home. "There! The kid's got the old lady. Don't let them leave, boss, said no witnesses." Marcus hit the kitchen door with his shoulder. It flew open, revealing a cramped space of stainless steel and grease traps. A back exit glowed red on the far wall. "Almost there." He half-carried, half-dragged Nana Rose through the kitchen. Pots clattered off counters. His foot caught on a floor mat, nearly sending them both sprawling. "Move, boy." Nana Rose's voice was weaker now. "Don't you dare slow down." He hit the exit bar and burst into the night. Rain slammed into his face like a fist. The parking lot stretched before them, a field of puddles and gravel and motorcycles gleaming in the storm's electric light. Dozens of bikes all lined up like soldiers waiting for orders. "Which one?" "Red one. Angel wings on the tank." He spotted it, a vintage Harley cherry red with wings painted in gold across the gas tank. It sat at the end of the row, separated from the others, like it was too important to park with common machines. They'd made it 10 feet from the door when the shouting began behind them. "There, get them!" Marcus didn't look back. He couldn't. If he looked back, he'd see the guns. He'd see the death chasing them. He'd freeze up like he froze in that stairwell 5 years ago, and then they'd both die in this parking lot and nothing would ever change. He hoisted Nana Rose onto the Harley's seat, her head lolled against his shoulder, her breathing wet and labored. "You know how to ride," she mumbled. "I've seen people do it." "That's not the same thing." "It's gonna have to be." He swung his leg over the bike, jammed the key into the ignition, and twisted. The engine roared to life, a sound so loud and angry that it drowned out even the thunder. A bullet sparked off the chrome exhaust pipe inches from his leg. Marcus kicked the bike into gear, felt it lurch beneath him, and twisted the throttle with everything he had. "Hold on, because what's about to happen on that highway will change both their lives forever. If you're still with me, you understand why this story matters. Stay close." The Harley screamed down Michigan Avenue, rain lashing Marcus's face until he could barely see. Nana Rose slumped against his back, her arms wrapped around his waist in a grip that weakened with every passing mile. "Stay awake," he shouted over the wind. "You hear me? Stay awake." "Boy," her voice was fading. "There's something I need to tell you. Tell me later, after a doctor looks at you." "No, now." She coughed, and he felt something warm and wet soak through the back of his jacket. Blood. Too much blood. "In my vest, inner pocket. There's a picture." "I don't care about a picture. You will." Her grip loosened another degree. "When you find it, everything will make sense. Everything your mama, everything she died for." Marcus's blood went cold. "How do you know about my mama?" But Nana Rose didn't answer. Her arms slipped from his waist, and he had to grab her wrist with one hand to keep her from falling off the bike entirely. He spotted the hospital sign through the sheets of rain, blue and white, glowing like a lighthouse. He took the exit ramp too fast, felt the rear tire slide on the wet pavement, and somehow kept them upright through sheer terror and dumb luck. The emergency entrance blazed ahead. He killed the engine and half fell, half climbed off the bike, catching Nana Rose before she could crumple to the ground. "Help!" His voice cracked raw from screaming into the wind. "Somebody help! She's been shot!" For one eternal moment, nothing happened. Then the doors flew open. Nurses in scrubs rushed out with a gurney, their voices cutting the night with codes and commands Marcus didn't understand. Hands pulled Nana Rose away from him, so many hands moving so fast, and then she was gone, swallowed by the white light and sterile chaos of the trauma bay. Marcus stood in the rain, blood on his hands, blood on his jacket, blood mixing with the water that streamed down his face and into his mouth. That's when he remembered what she'd said. In my vest. In her pocket. There's a picture. He'd left the vest on her. The nurses had taken it with her. Whatever secret she'd been trying to share, it had disappeared behind those swinging doors. Son. A security guard was approaching, hand on his radio concern, and suspicion warring on his face. You the one who brought that woman in? Marcus nodded, unable to speak. You involved in whatever happened to her? I don't know. I don't know anything. Well, you better figure it out fast. The guard gestured toward the parking lot. Because something tells me this night ain't over yet. 2 hours later, Marcus sat in a plastic chair in the waiting room, still damp, still shaking, still trying to make sense of what had happened. The police had questioned him twice. He'd told them everything: the bar, the shooters, the escape. Everything except the way Nana Rose had looked at him. The way she'd said, I thought she lied. I thought I dreamed you, the way she'd mentioned his mother. The vending machine in the corner hummed. The television mounted on the wall played the news on mute traffic reports, whether a feel-good story about a dog rescue. Normal life. Life that didn't include bullets and blood and old women in leather vests carrying secrets. The doors from the trauma wing opened. A doctor emerged, exhaustion carved into every line of his face. Behind him, Marcus caught a glimpse of Nana Rose on a gurney, machines beeping, tubes running everywhere. She's stable, the doctor said to the officers clustered nearby. Lost a lot of blood, but she's a fighter. We'll know more in the next few hours. Relief flooded through Marcus, relief he had no right to feel. He didn't know this woman. She was a stranger. A biker. Someone his mother had apparently known, but in my vest, in her pocket. He stood up before he realized he was moving. Excuse me, the woman they brought in her vest. Is it still with her? The doctor frowned. Her personal effects are being processed. Why? There's something in the pocket. Something she wanted me to see. Are you family? He stopped. No, I don't know. Maybe. The doctor's frown deepened. A police officer stepped forward, the older one, with gray at his temples and lines around his eyes that spoke of too many nights like this one. Kid, who are you, really? Marcus Cole. I told you already. You told us your name. That's not the same as telling us who you are. Before Marcus could answer, a sound rolled through the building, a deep rumbling thunder that had nothing to do with the storm outside. It built slowly, growing louder, until the windows began to vibrate in their frames. The security guard near the entrance pressed his face to the glass. Mother of God. Marcus turned. The parking lot had transformed. Where there had been empty spaces and scattered cars, now there were motorcycles. Dozens of them. Scores of them. They poured in from the access road in tight formation, headlights slicing through the rain like searchlights, engines growling in chorus. 98 bikes, he would learn later. 98 men and women in leather and denim patches flashing in the fluorescent glare of the hospital's exterior lights. Steel Legion MC. They came for their matriarch. They came for Nana Rose. And when their president dismounted from his Black Road King and strode toward the hospital entrance, Marcus felt the earth shift beneath his feet, because he'd seen that face before. In a photograph his mother had kept hidden in a shoebox under her bed, in the only picture of his father he'd ever seen. If your heart is pounding right now, I need you to hit that subscribe button, because what happens when that man walks through those doors? That's going to change everything. Marcus thought he knew about himself, his mother, and why someone wants him dead. The automatic doors slid open. He stood 6'3", shoulders broad enough to fill the frame beard, shot through with gray eyes like chips of winter ice. His leather vest bore the same patches as Nana Rose's, the wolf's head, the angel wings, but his carried an additional rocker across the chest. Hawk. President. The waiting room went silent. Even the vending machine seemed to hold its breath. Hawk scanned the space with military precision police officers, nurses, the security guard frozen by the entrance. His gaze touched each face and dismissed it, searching for something specific. Someone specific. Then those ice-blue eyes landed on Marcus and stopped. For 3 heartbeats, neither of them moved. The world narrowed to a single point of connection, this massive, dangerous man and the homeless boy covered in his grandmother's blood. You. Hawk's voice was deep, rough, a sound that had given orders and ended arguments for 40 years. You're the one who brought her in. Marcus found his voice somewhere in the ruins of his courage. Yeah. She alive? They said she's stable. Barely. Hawk crossed the room in 4 strides. Up close, the scars became visible, a white line across his jaw, a puckered circle on his left hand, the kind of marks that told stories Marcus didn't want to hear. What happened? Marcus told him. The bar. The 3 men. The shots. The escape. His voice cracked twice, but he didn't stop. Didn't look away, didn't let himself flinch under that frozen stare. When he finished, Hawk stood motionless for a long moment. Then he reached into his own vest and pulled out a photograph. This fell out of her jacket when the paramedics were working on her. He held it up, face toward Marcus. One of my boys grabbed it before anyone else could see. Marcus looked at the picture and forgot how to breathe. It was him. A younger version, 9 years old, smiling at the camera, standing beside a woman with dark hair and tired eyes. His mother. They were posed in front of a Christmas tree, ornaments catching the flash paper crowns from crackers still tilted on their heads. He remembered that Christmas. The last one before everything fell apart. The last one before. His mother stopped sleeping, stopped eating, stopped leaving the apartment except for quick trips that left her pale and shaking. The last one before she died. Turn it over. Hawk's voice had changed. The command was gone, replaced by something raw and uncertain. Marcus took the photo with trembling fingers and flipped it. On the back, in his mother's handwriting, he'd know those loops anywhere. That way. She crossed her T's. The slight leftward slant were 2 words. For Hawk, protect the boy. The silence stretched until it screamed. Marcus looked up from the photo to find Hawk staring at him with an expression he couldn't read. Grief, maybe. Or rage. Or something older and deeper than either. Who are you? Marcus whispered. I'm the man your mother ran from 14 years ago. That doesn't answer my question. Hawk's jaw tightened. Yeah, it does. Before Marcus could respond, the trauma doors swung open again. A nurse emerged, frazzled and urgent. She's awake. She's asking for the boy, the one who brought her in. Every biker head in the room swiveled toward Marcus. Hawk's hand landed on his shoulder, heavy, warm, inexorable. Then you better go see what she wants. Marcus looked down at the photograph still clutched in his fingers. His mother's face smiled up at him from a Christmas 5 years gone. Protect the boy. Somehow she'd known this moment would come. Somehow she'd planned for it. Left breadcrumbs across a decade and a half waiting for him to find his way here. But why? What had she done? And why did someone want him dead because of it? The answers were waiting behind those trauma doors. All he had to do was walk through. Marcus Cole. 14 years old and homeless, who'd spent 3 months sleeping under bridges and eating garbage, squared his shoulders and took the first step toward a truth that had been hunting him since before he was born. Behind him, 98 bikers watched in silence. Whatever he learned in that room was going to change everything. For all of them. The trauma doors swung shut behind Marcus, cutting off the rumble of voices and the weight of 98 stairs. His sneakers squeaked against the polished floor, leaving wet prints that stretched behind him like a trail of evidence. The photograph burned in his pocket, his mother's handwriting seared into his brain. For Hawk, protect the boy. A nurse led him down the corridor that smelled of antiseptic and fear. Machines beeped behind closed doors. Somewhere a woman sobbed quietly. Marcus kept his eyes forward, his heart slamming against his ribs so hard he thought it might crack them. 5 minutes, the nurse said, stopping outside room 7. She's weak. Don't upset her. I won't. The nurse gave him a look that said she didn't believe him, then walked away. Marcus pushed open the door. Nana Rose looked smaller than she had in the bar. The leather vest was gone, replaced by a hospital gown that swallowed her thin frame. Tubes ran from her arms to bags of fluid hanging above the bed. Monitors traced the stuttering rhythm of her heart in green lines that peaked and fell like tiny mountains. But her eyes, those gray-blue eyes that had blazed with fury in the bar, were open, waiting, fixed on the doorway like she'd known exactly when he would appear. Close the door, she rasped. Marcus obeyed. Come closer. I can barely see you from here. He crossed to her bedside feet, moving on autopilot. Up close he could see the toll the night had taken, the pallor beneath her weathered skin, the tremor in her hands, the way each breath seemed to cost her something precious. You came back, she whispered. Most people would have run. I tried running once, didn't work out. A ghost of a smile crossed her face. No, it never does. Silence stretched between them. Marcus could hear his own pulse in his ears, could feel the photograph pressing against his thigh like a secret, demanding to be told. You knew my mother. It wasn't a question. Nana Rose's eyes glistened. Lydia Marie Cole, born September 3rd, 1979, in Hamtramck. Favorite color was yellow. Couldn't carry a tune to save her life, but she'd sing anyway every Sunday morning while she made pancakes. Marcus's throat tightened. How do you know that? Because I was there, every Sunday, for 3 years. I don't understand. Nana Rose's hand found his, her grip weak but insistent. Sit down, boy. This is going to take a minute. If you're feeling what Marcus is feeling right now, that mix of hope and fear and desperate need to know, stay with me. Because what Nana Rose is about to tell him will turn his whole world upside down. Marcus pulled a chair to her bedside and sat. His legs were shaking. He hadn't noticed until now. Your mother came to us when she was 19, Nana Rose began. Showed up at the clubhouse one night, soaking wet, bloody lip, nowhere to go. Some boyfriend had knocked her around. She needed somewhere safe. The Steel Legion was safe. For her it was. Nana Rose coughed, winced, continued. Hawk took one look at her and that was it. Love at first sight, though he'd never admit it. Too proud, too scared of what it meant. Marcus thought of the man in the waiting room, those ice-blue eyes, that massive frame. Hawk and my mother were together for 4 years. Happiest I ever saw either of them. Then what happened? Nana Rose's grip tightened on his hand. War happened. The kind that doesn't end with treaties and handshakes. The Black Crows, you heard them in the bar. Yeah, they've been trying to take over Detroit for 20 years. Drugs, guns, girls. Everything ugly, they've got their fingers in it. What does that have to do with my mother? She was smart, your mama. Smarter than any of us. Worked in the office at a shipping company downtown, legitimate job, good benefits. But that company? They were moving product for the Crows. Money, mostly. Cleaning it, sending it overseas, bringing it back, sparkling. Marcus leaned forward. She found out. She found proof. Documents, account numbers, names. Everything you'd need to burn that whole operation to the ground. And she gave it to the cops. Nana Rose laughed bitterly. Boy, half the cops in this city are on the Crow's payroll. She tried that route, almost got herself killed. After that, she took everything she had and she ran. When was this? Nana Rose's eyes met his. Held. 14 years ago. Right about the time you were born. The words hit Marcus like a physical blow. He pulled his hand back, stood up, paced to the window and back. His mind was racing, pieces falling into place that he didn't want to see, patterns forming that he wasn't ready to accept. Hawk, he said slowly. He's your father. Nana Rose said it simply, like a fact. Like something that had always been true and always would be. Your mother found out she was pregnant the same week she discovered what that shipping company was doing. She had a choice: stay and raise you in the middle of a war, or run and give you a chance at something normal. She chose to run. She chose you. Every time she chose you. Marcus's eyes burned. He wouldn't cry. He hadn't cried since the stairwell, since his mother's blood soaked through his shoes, since he'd run until his lungs gave out and collapsed behind a dumpster 3 miles away. Does Hawk know? Nana Rose nodded slowly. He's known since the night she left. She wrote him a letter, explained everything, told him not to follow her, said if he loved her, he'd let her go. And he did. What choice did he have? The Crows had people everywhere. If he'd gone after her, he'd have led them right to her door. So he stayed. Built the Legion up strong. Waited for the day she'd come back. She never did. No. Nana Rose's voice cracked. 5 years ago, the Crows finally found her. We don't know how. Maybe she got careless. Maybe somebody talked. All we know is what the news said: woman shot dead in a stairwell robbery gone wrong, no witnesses. There was a witness, Marcus whispered. Me. Nana Rose went very still. What did you see? The memory crashed over him like a wave, the sound of footsteps, his mother's sudden fear, the way she'd pushed him into the corner and told him to hide. The voices, the argument, the gunshot. 2 men, he said, his voice hollow. They were asking her about documents, files. She said she'd destroyed everything. They didn't believe her. What else? One of them had a tattoo, blackbird on his neck, right here. He touched the side of his throat. Nana Rose's face went pale. A crow. I didn't know what it meant. I was 9. I just remembered the bird. And you never told anyone. Who would I tell? The cops wrote it off as a mugging. Foster care doesn't ask questions. And every time I tried to talk about what I saw, people looked at me like I was crazy, like I was making things up for attention. The heart monitor beeped faster. Nana Rose pressed a hand to her chest, grimacing. Should I get the nurse? No, stay. She grabbed his wrist. There's more you need to know. Now listen to me carefully, because what Nana Rose is about to reveal will explain everything: why those men came to the bar, why they wanted Marcus dead, and why someone in this very hospital might be working against them. Your mother didn't destroy those documents, Nana Rose said. She hid them. Marcus froze. What? She sent them somewhere safe, somewhere the Crows would never think to look. But she didn't tell anyone where. Not Hawk, not me, not anyone. Then how do you know they exist? Because she told me they did, right before she left. She said, if anything happens to me, if they catch up to me, the answer's with Marcus. He'll know where to look when he's ready. I don't know anything. I've been living on the streets for 3 months. I don't have a secret hiding place. I don't have anything. Nana Rose's eyes searched his face. Think, boy. Did your mother give you anything? Anything at all that seemed special? Something she made you promise to keep, Marcus thought. Clothes donated and discarded over the years. Toys long gone. Books lost in the shuffle between foster homes. Nothing permanent. Nothing lasting. Except, there was a locket, he said slowly. She gave it to me on my 8th birthday. Told me to never take it off no matter what. Where is it now? I still have it, in my backpack. I grabbed it before I ran from the bar. Nana Rose's eyes lit up. Get it. Show me. Marcus hesitated. The locket was the only thing left of his mother, the only physical proof she'd ever existed. Showing it to this stranger felt like handing over a piece of his soul. But if it held answers, if it could explain why she'd died, why he'd spent 5 years running, why those men in the bar wanted him dead, then he had to know. He crossed to the corner where he'd dropped his backpack, unzipped the main compartment, reached past the spare shirt and the cracked lighter and the photograph of his mother that he'd kept since he was 9. His fingers closed around a small velvet pouch. He brought it back to Nana Rose and opened it. The locket was tarnished now, the silver chain kinked from years of wear. But the oval pendant still gleamed faintly, its surface etched with a wolf's head, the same wolf's head that adorned every Steel Legion patch. "Open it," Nana Rose breathed. Marcus pressed the tiny catch on the side. The locket swung open. Inside, where you'd normally find a photograph, there was a tiny slip of paper folded so many times it was barely bigger than his thumbnail. "What is that?" "I don't know. I never opened it before. She told me not until I was grown." "You're grown enough now. Read it." Marcus's hands trembled as he unfolded the paper. The handwriting was his mother's. He'd recognize it anywhere, but faded, barely legible. A series of numbers. An address. And 3 words at the bottom: Lockbox 77144. Detroit Savings and Trust. Your inheritance, baby. The machines beeped. The fluorescent lights hummed. And Marcus Cole stared at a scrap of paper that had been hanging around his neck for 6 years without his knowledge. "Lockbox," he whispered. "She hid everything in a lockbox. And she gave you the key." Nana Rose reached for his hand again. "The Crows have been hunting that evidence for 14 years. They've killed to find it. And now they know you're alive. They know you're connected to us. That's why they hit the bar. They weren't just sending a message. They were trying to take you out before you could find what your mother left behind. But I didn't even know." "Doesn't matter. They couldn't take the chance." She squeezed his hand. "You need to get to that bank. You need to find what's in that box. And then what? Then we finish what your mother started. We take down the Black Crows, every last one of them." The door burst open. Hawk stood in the doorway, his massive frame filling the space, his face a mask of barely controlled fury. "We've got a problem," he said. Marcus shoved the locket and paper into his pocket. "What kind of problem?" "The kind that wears a badge." Hawk stepped into the room, lowering his voice. "Detective Mercer just showed up with 6 uniforms. He's demanding to take you into protective custody." Nana Rose struggled to sit up. "David Mercer. That snake. You know him. He's been on the Crow's payroll for 15 years. If he gets his hands on that boy, Marcus won't survive the night. Stay right here because things are about to get very dangerous. The enemy isn't just outside the hospital, they're inside it. And Marcus just became the most hunted person in Detroit." Marcus looked between Hawk and Nana Rose. His mind raced, processing everything he'd just learned. Father. Evidence. Corrupt cops. A lockbox holding secrets worth killing for. "How do we get out?" he asked. Hawk's eyes really met his for the first time, without the barrier of strangers between them. Something passed in that look. Recognition. Acceptance. A promise. "My boys have the parking lot covered, but Mercer's blocking the main entrance. We need another way." "Service elevator," Nana Rose said. "Takes you down to the loading dock. Laundry delivery comes in through there." "Can you walk?" "Boy, I can ride. Walking's for people without motorcycles." Despite everything, Marcus felt his lips twitch. "You're insane. I'm your grandmother. Get used to it. The word hit him like a punch. Grandmother. He had a grandmother. He had a father. He had a family, broken, dangerous, bound by blood and leather, but a family. "We move now," Hawk said. "Rose, I'm getting you a wheelchair. Marcus, stay close to me. Don't talk to anyone. Don't look at anyone. Don't stop moving until I tell you to." "What about the detective?" Hawk's smile was cold. "Let me worry about Mercer." He disappeared into the hallway. Marcus heard him bark orders to someone, one of his bikers stationed outside the room. Footsteps pounded. Voices shouted back and forth. "Marcus!" He turned back to Nana Rose. She was pulling at her IV, trying to free herself from the tubes and wires that bound her to the bed. "Help me up." "You shouldn't be moving." "I'll rest when I'm dead. Right now I've got a grandson to protect." She grabbed his arm, used him, as leverage swung her legs over the side of the bed. "That lockbox, you can't go alone. The crows will be watching the bank. They'll have men inside, men outside, men on every corner." "Then what do I do?" "You take backup." She met his eyes. "You take your father." Father. The word felt foreign on his tongue, but something about it fit. Something about it felt right. Hawk reappeared with a wheelchair. Behind him, two bikers in Legion patches flanked the door, their eyes scanning the hallway like Secret Service agents. "Time to go. Mercer's on his way up." Marcus helped Nana Rose into the wheelchair. She was lighter than he expected, fragile in a way that made his chest ache. This woman had taken a bullet for him, had carried his photograph for 14 years, had kept his mother's secret when telling it would have been easier. "Thank you," he whispered as he settled her into the chair. "For everything." She grabbed his face with both hands, pulled him close, and pressed a kiss to his forehead. "You don't thank family, boy. You show up for them." The elevator doors opened at the end of the hall. Detective Mercer stepped out. He was tall, thin, with the kind of face that looked like it had never smiled. His badge gleamed on his belt. His hand rested on his service weapon, and his eyes, cold, calculating, swept the corridor until they landed on Marcus. "There he is. Marcus Cole. You're coming with me." Hawk stepped between them. "He's not going anywhere with you, Mercer. This is police business. Step aside." "Make me." The two men faced each other. Behind Mercer, uniformed officers spread out. Behind Hawk, bikers materialized from doorways and corners. The corridor transformed into a standoff tension thick enough to choke on. Marcus's hand found the locket in his pocket. His mother's last gift. His inheritance. "Detective." He stepped around Hawk, heart pounding. "What exactly am I being charged with?" Mercer's eyes narrowed. "Nothing. Yet. But you're a material witness in a multiple homicide, and I have reason to believe your life is in danger." "From who?" "From them." Mercer jerked his chin toward the bikers. "These people aren't your friends, kid. They're criminals. Whatever they've told you, it's lies." "Really?" Marcus pulled out the photograph, the one from Nana Rose's vest. "Then why did my mother leave this with instructions to find Hawk if anything happened to her?" Mercer's face flickered. Just for a second. But Marcus caught it. "Where did you get that from her?" He pointed at Nana Rose. "My grandmother. The woman those criminals in the bar shot while trying to protect me. That shooting is under investigation. By who? Your people." Marcus stepped closer. "Tell me something, detective. You knew my mother, didn't you, Lydia Cole? She worked at Brennan Shipping before she disappeared." Mercer's jaw tightened. "I don't know what you're talking about." "I think you do. I think you knew exactly what that company was doing. I think you helped cover it up. And I think you're here right now because someone told you I have evidence that could burn it all down." The corridor went silent. Mercer's hand moved toward his gun. "I wouldn't," Hawk said quietly. "You're outnumbered, Mercer. And even if you weren't, killing the kid in front of 50 witnesses isn't going to solve your problem. It's going to create about 100 new ones. This isn't over. No. Hawk smiled, and there was no warmth in it. It's just getting started. Mercer held his ground for another long moment. Then he stepped aside, motioning for his officers to do the same. "You've got 24 hours, he said to Marcus. "Then I'm coming for you with a warrant, and next time your biker friends won't be able to protect you." He turned and walked back to the elevator. His officers followed, casting nervous glances at the wall of leather and muscle lining the hallway. The doors closed. The tension broke. "We need to move," Hawk said. "Now, before he calls for backup." They ran. Down the service corridor, into the freight elevator, through the maze of the hospital's lower levels, past laundry carts and supply closets and confused orderlies who pressed themselves against walls to let them pass. The loading dock was cold dark, reeking of diesel and garbage. But waiting there, engines idling, were 5 motorcycles and a black van with blacked-out windows. "Rose goes in the van," Hawk ordered. "2 brothers ride with her. Marcus, you're with me." "Where are we going?" Hawk swung his leg over the road. King kicked it to life. He looked at Marcus over his shoulder. "To find out what your mother died for." Marcus climbed onto the back of the bike. His arms went around his father's waist. His father's, and held on as the motorcycle roared out of the loading dock and into the night. Behind them, the hospital shrank into the rain. Ahead of them, the city waited. And somewhere in that city, in a bank vault that had held its secrets for 14 years, the truth was finally ready to be told. The motorcycle tore through the rain-slicked streets of Detroit, weaving between late-night traffic and abandoned intersections. Marcus pressed himself against Hawk's back, feeling the older man's muscles tense and shift with every turn. Neither of them spoke. The roar of the engine said everything that needed saying. 20 minutes later, they pulled into an industrial district on the city's east side. Warehouses loomed in the darkness, their windows dark, their loading docks empty. The kind of place where people went when they didn't want to be found. Hawk killed the engine outside a building marked Still Water Storage. A faded sign. Rusted chains on the fence. But the gate swung open, smooth and silent, when one of the bikers punched a code into a hidden keypad. "This is ours," Hawk said, dismounting. "Been a Legion safe house since before you were born." Marcus climbed off the bike, his legs unsteady. "My mother knew about this place. She helped us buy it." Hawk started toward the door. "Come on. We need to talk before we hit that bank." Inside the warehouse had been transformed. What looked abandoned from the outside was actually a fully functioning headquarters tables, covered with maps, a kitchen stocked with supplies, cots lined up along one wall for brothers who needed a place to crash. The black van pulled in behind them. 2 bikers helped Nana Rose out, easing her into a wheelchair they'd grabbed from the hospital. She looked pale, exhausted, but her eyes still held that fierce spark. "Get me to the table," she ordered, "and somebody make coffee. This is going to be a long night." If you've been following Marcus's journey from the beginning, you know he's never had anyone fight for him before. But that's about to change. Stay with me. Hawk spread a map across the main table. Detroit Savings and Trust sat in the financial district 3 blocks from the river, surrounded by office buildings that would be empty at this hour. "Bank opens at 9, Hawk said. "That gives us about 7 hours to figure out how to get in and out without the crows knowing." "Why can't we just walk in?" Marcus asked. "I have the account number. The lockbox is in my name." "Because Mercer's already got people watching it." Nana Rose wheeled herself to the table. "The minute you step through those doors, they'll know. and they'll be waiting when you come out. So what do we do? Hawk looked at him, really looked at him with an intensity that made Marcus want to step back. We create a distraction. One of the bikers, a massive man with a shaved head and a scar running from his eyebrow to his chin, stepped forward. I can have 20 brothers outside that bank by dawn. Make some noise, draw attention. That's not enough. Hawk shook his head. Mercer will call in backup. We need something bigger. Like what? Hawk's jaw tightened. Like giving them what they want. The room went quiet. You're talking about using the kid as bait, Nana Rose said flatly. I'm talking about letting them think they've won. Hawk turned to Marcus. You walk in the front door. Make it obvious. Let Mercer's people see you follow. You think they've got you cornered. Meanwhile, our people are already inside. Inside how? The bank has a service entrance in the back. Maintenance staff uses it. We've got a brother who works there, been on our payroll for years, just in case we ever needed access. Marcus's head spun. You planned for this. Your mother planned for this. Hawk's voice softened. She told me once if anything happened to her, if you ever needed to get into that bank, we'd have a way. She didn't leave anything to chance. The weight of those words settled over Marcus like a blanket. His mother, dead for 5 years, was still protecting him, still planning for him, still fighting for the future she'd never get to see. What do I do once I'm inside? Get to the vault. Open the lockbox. Take everything inside. And then you run like hell. Marcus thought about it. The fear was there, cold and coiling in his gut. But something else was there too. Something harder. Something his mother had planted in him years ago and watered with every bedtime story about being brave, being strong, being the kind of person who stood up when everyone else sat down. Okay, he said. I'll do it. Hawk nodded once. Good. Get some rest. We move at 8. Marcus found a cot in the corner and lay down, but sleep wouldn't come. His mind raced with everything he'd learned, his father, his grandmother, the evidence his mother had hidden, the corrupt cops hunting him. Every piece connected to every other piece, forming a picture he was only beginning to understand. Around 3 in the morning, footsteps approached his cot. Can't sleep either. Marcus opened his eyes. Hawk stood over him, 2 cups of coffee in his hands. No. Yeah, me neither. He handed Marcus a cup and sat down on the cot across from him. Mind if I sit? It's your warehouse. Hawk almost smiled. Fair point. They drank in silence for a moment. The warehouse was quiet now, most of the bikers catching what rest they could before dawn. I've been waiting 14 years to meet you, Hawk said finally. Played it out in my head 1,000 times. What I'd say, what I'd do. Never figured it would happen like this. How did you figure it would happen? I don't know. Birthday party maybe? Graduation? Some normal thing where I could walk up and say, "Hey, I'm your dad." He shook his head. Instead, you drag my mother-in-law out of a firefight and show up covered in her blood. I didn't know who she was. I know. That's what makes it worse. Hawk set down his cup. You saved her because you're a good person, not because of who she is to you or who I am, just because it was the right thing to do. Marcus stared into his coffee. My mom used to say that. Do the right thing even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. That sounds like her. Did you love her? The question hung in the air between them. More than anything, Hawk said quietly. More than the club, more than this city, more than my own life. He paused. When she left, it broke something in me. I spent years trying to fix it with bottles, with fights with women who weren't her. Nothing worked. Why didn't you go after her? Because she asked me not to. Hawk's voice cracked. She said if I loved her, I'd let her go. That staying away was the only way to keep you safe. He looked at Marcus. She was wrong, you know. Staying away didn't keep her safe. Didn't keep you safe. All it did was give me 14 years of regret. You couldn't have known. No, but I should have tried harder. Should have found a way to protect her without leading the crows to her door. His hands clenched. She died alone, Marcus, in a stairwell, while I was sitting in a clubhouse 30 miles away drinking whiskey and feeling sorry for myself. Listen to me now, because this moment, this father and son finally talking about the mother they both lost, this is the heart of everything. This is why we tell these stories. Marcus set down his own cup. I was there. Hawk went still. What? When she died, I was there. I saw everything. The color drained from Hawk's face. You never said, I didn't know how. Marcus's voice trembled. I was 9. I didn't understand what was happening. I just knew she told me to hide, and then there were men, and then there was a gunshot. And then she was... He couldn't finish. The words stuck in his throat like broken glass. Hawk moved without thinking. One moment he was sitting across from Marcus, and the next he was beside him, pulling him into an embrace that smelled of leather and motor oil and something else, something Marcus hadn't felt in 5 years. Safety. Belonging. Home. I'm sorry, Hawk whispered. God, I'm so sorry. Marcus didn't cry. Hadn't cried since that night in the stairwell, but he let himself be held. Let himself feel the weight of his father's arms around him. Let himself believe, just for a moment, that maybe he wasn't alone anymore. They stayed like that for a long time. When dawn broke, the warehouse transformed into controlled chaos. Bikers checked weapons, memorized routes, synchronized watches. Nana Rose, despite protests from everyone, insisted on being part of the operation. I've run more jobs than any of you have had hot meals, she snapped at one brother who suggested she stay behind. You think a little bullet hole is going to keep me out? Grandma, don't you grandma me. I was burying crows when your father was still in diapers. Marcus watched the preparations with a mixture of awe and terror. These people, his people now, whether he was ready for that or not, were about to risk everything for him. For a lockbox full of secrets. For the chance to finish what his mother started. Time to go. Hawk appeared at his elbow, handing him a phone. Burner, my number's the only one programmed in. Something goes wrong, you call. Understand? Yeah. Say it back to me. Something goes wrong, I call. Good. Hawk gripped his shoulder. You're going to be fine, Marcus. Your mother didn't raise a coward. How do you know what she raised? Hawk smiled a real smile this time. Because you're still standing here. After everything you've been through, after everything the world threw at you, you're still standing. That's her. That's all her. They rolled out at 7:45. The financial district was already waking up coffee shops, opening buses, rumbling past early workers hurrying toward their buildings. Marcus rode behind Hawk, watching the city blur past, trying to memorize every detail in case this was the last time he saw it. Detroit Savings and Trust occupied a corner lot 2 blocks from the river. Old stone facade, brass fixtures, the kind of bank that had been there forever and planned to be there forever more. A security guard stood outside the main entrance, checking his watch. 30 minutes until they open, Hawk said, pulling over half a block away. Our man's already inside. You go in through the front, ask for access to your lockbox. Keep them busy for at least 10 minutes, long enough for us to get into position. And if Mercer's people grab me before I get inside, they won't. Hawk's eyes scanned the street. But if they do, you stall. Talk about lawyers' rights, whatever you have to. Buy us time. Marcus nodded. His stomach churned, but his hands were steady. One more thing. Hawk reached into his vest and pulled out a patch, a wolf's head with angel wings. the same design that marked every Steel Legion member. This was your mother's. She gave it to me the night she left. Said to give it to you when you were ready. Marcus took the patch. The leather was soft, worn smooth by years of handling. His mother had touched this, had worn this, had been part of this family before he even existed. I don't know if I'm ready. Nobody ever is. Hawk closed Marcus's fingers around the patch. But you're her son, and you're my son. And today we're going to prove that means something. What happens in that bank is going to change everything. Not just for Marcus, not just for the Legion, but for everyone who ever thought they could bury the truth and get away with it. Stay with me now. The doors opened at 9 Huzurin sharp. Marcus walked through them alone. The lobby was all marble and brass, echoing with footsteps and hushed voices. Tellers stood behind bulletproof glass. A security guard by the door gave Marcus a long look but didn't stop him. Can I help you? A woman in a navy suit approached manager-type smile that didn't reach her eyes. Her name tag read, Patricia Holden. I need to access a lockbox. Do you have your key and identification? I have the account number. Marcus pulled out the slip of paper from his mother's locket. Lockbox 7714. It should be in my name. Marcus Cole. Patricia's smile flickered. Something passed through her eyes, recognition fear Marcus couldn't tell. One moment, please. She walked to her desk and picked up a phone. Spoke quietly, her back to Marcus. He felt eyes on him from every direction, the security guard, the teller's customers waiting in line. Any one of them could be a crow. Any one of them could be waiting for a signal. The phone call lasted too long. Marcus's hands began to sweat. Finally, Patricia returned. The smile was gone. Mr. Cole, there seems to be a problem with your account. What kind of problem? I'm not at liberty to discuss it here. If you'll come with me to my office, I'm not going anywhere until you tell me what's going on. Patricia's eyes darted to the security guard. A small nod. Barely visible. The guard started moving toward them. Marcus's heart hammered. This was wrong. This was all wrong. They weren't supposed to stop him before he even got to the vault. Mr. Cole. Patricia's voice hardened. I need you to come with me. Now. I know my rights. You can't hold me without cause. I'm not holding you. I'm asking you to step into my office so we can discuss a matter of some sensitivity. She lowered her voice. There are federal agents on their way. If you cooperate, this can go smoothly. If you don't... Federal agents, not local cops, not Mercer. Something had changed. What federal agents? FBI, Treasury Department. Patricia gripped his elbow. The lockbox you're trying to access has been flagged for investigation. Money laundering, tax evasion, conspiracy to commit fraud. She steered him toward a door marked private. Whatever your mother put in that box, Mr. Cole, the government wants it just as badly as you do. The door opened. 2 men in dark suits stood inside. Government badges, government haircuts, government faces that gave away nothing. Marcus Cole, one of them said. We've been waiting for you. The door closed behind him. For a moment, Marcus stood frozen. The office was small, windowless, suffocating. The 2 agents watched him with the patience of predators who knew their prey had nowhere to run. Have a seat, Mr. Cole. I'll stand. Suit yourself. The first agent, tall black with a scar on his left hand, leaned against the desk. I'm Agent Williams. This is Agent Chen. We're with the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network. Never heard of it. Most people haven't, which is exactly how we like it. Williams folded his arms. Do you know what's in lockbox 7714? No. Don't lie to us, son. We know your mother opened that box 14 years ago. We know she deposited documents related to Brennan Shipping and its connection to organized crime. And we know someone's been trying very hard to get those documents before we could. Marcus's mind raced. If you know all that, why haven't you opened the box yourself? Legal complications. Chen spoke for the first time shorter Asian with glasses that made him look like an accountant. Your mother set up the account with specific instructions. Only 2 people can access it, her or her designated beneficiary upon her death. That's me. That's you. Williams pushed off the desk. Which puts us in an interesting position, Mr. Cole. We've been building a case against the Black Crows for over a decade. Every time we get close, evidence disappears. Witnesses recant. Cops we thought we could trust turn out to be on the payroll. Mercer. Among others. Williams's eyes sharpened. You know about Mercer. He tried to take me into custody last night. Called it protective. I'm sure he did. Chen pulled out a folder. David Mercer has been on our radar for years. Problem is we can't prove anything. Every lead we follow turns into a dead end. What does this have to do with me? Williams and Chen exchanged a look. Your mother's documents could change everything, Williams said. Account numbers, transaction records, names of every dirty cop, politician, and businessman who's been helping the Crows operate in this city for the past 20 years. If what she hid is what we think it is, we could take down the whole organization. Every single one of them. Marcus felt the weight of those words. His mother had died for this. Had run hidden, sacrificed everything for this. So open the box. We can't. Chen stepped forward. Not without your permission, and not without your help. My help? The Crows know you're here, Mr. Cole. They've known since you walked through that door. Right now there are men watching every exit, waiting for you to come out with whatever's in that box. Chen's voice dropped. If we take you out the front, they'll follow. If we take you out the back, they'll follow. The only way this works is if they think they've won. What do you mean? Williams smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. We mean we let them catch you. If you think Marcus has been through hell already, you haven't seen anything yet. What these agents are asking him to do could get him killed, but it might also be the only way to finish what his mother started. The plan was insane. Marcus said so multiple times while the agents laid it out step by step. He would access the lockbox. He would take the documents. He would walk out the front door in plain sight, holding evidence that could destroy an empire. And then he would let the Crows grab him. Once they have you, they'll take you somewhere private, Williams explained. They'll want to see what's in the box. Make sure it's what they're looking for. And then they'll kill me. Not if we're tracking you. But Chen held up a small device, no bigger than a grain of rice. GPS transmitter. We inject it under your skin and we can follow you anywhere in the city. You want to chip me like a dog. We want to keep you alive. Williams's voice hardened. These men killed your mother. They've killed dozens of people to protect their operation. The only way to stop them is to catch them in the act. And the only way to do that is to give them what they want. What about the Legion? They're out there waiting for me. Your biker friends will have to sit this one out. Chen shook his head. If they interfere, the Crows will scatter. We'll lose our chance. And you'll be back to square one looking over your shoulder for the rest of your life. Marcus thought about Hawk. About Nana Rose. About the family he'd just found after 14 years of being alone. I can't just leave them hanging. You can if you want this to end. William stepped closer. Your mother spent years gathering this evidence. She gave up everything, her home, her family, her life to make sure it survived. Are you really going to let that sacrifice mean nothing? The words hit like a punch. Marcus closed his eyes. Saw his mother's face. Heard her voice that last night telling him to run. She'd run so he could live. She'd hidden so he could be free. She'd died so the truth could survive. What would she want him to do now? Okay, he said quietly. I'll do it. The injection hurt less than he expected. A quick pinch, a moment of pressure, and then it was done. Chen showed him the tracking app on his phone, a blinking dot marking Marcus's location in real time. We'll be with you every step of the way, Williams promised. The moment they take you somewhere we can move in, we move in. You won't be alone. Marcus nodded. His hands were shaking, but his voice was steady. Let's get this over with. They led him to the vault. A massive steel door combination locks the smell of old money and older secrets. A bank employee opened lockbox 7714 with a master key. Inside was a single manila envelope thick with papers. Marcus picked it up. It was heavier than he expected. That's it, Chen asked. That's it. He didn't open it. Didn't look. Just tucked it under his arm and walked back through the bank past Patricia Holden and her nervous smile past the security guard who wouldn't meet his eyes out into the morning sun. The street was busy now. Traffic, pedestrians, the normal chaos of a city waking up. Marcus walked slowly, making himself visible, making himself a target. He didn't see Hawk's signal. Didn't see the bikers positioned at corners and rooftops. Didn't see Nana Rose in the van half a block away watching through binoculars. What he saw was the black SUV that pulled up beside him. The door opened. A voice said, "Get in, kid. Now." Marcus got in. The door slammed shut behind him, and the SUV disappeared into traffic carrying Marcus Cole and his mother's secrets toward a reckoning 14 years in the making. The SUV smelled like cigarettes and fear. Marcus pressed himself against the leather seat. The manila envelope clutched to his chest, heart hammering so loud he was sure everyone in the vehicle could hear it. 3 men surrounded him. 2 in the front, one beside him in the back. All of them wore black. All of them had the same dead eyes. And the one in the passenger seat, the one who'd told him to get in, had a tattoo on his neck. A black crow. "Relax, kid." The man beside him smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "Nobody's going to hurt you. Yet." "Where are you taking me?" "Somewhere private. The boss wants to meet you." "Who's your boss?" The smile widened. "You'll find out soon enough." Marcus's fingers found the spot on his arm where Chen had injected the tracker. A tiny bump beneath the skin. His only lifeline. His only hope. Assuming the feds were actually following. Assuming this wasn't all some elaborate setup. Assuming he wasn't about to die in a basement somewhere just like his mother. The SUV turned onto the highway, heading east. Away from downtown. Away from the bank. Away from Hawk and Nana Rose and everyone who might have protected him. The envelope. The man beside him held out his hand. "Give it." "No." The smile disappeared. "That wasn't a request." "I don't care. This is mine. My mother left it for me." The man's hand shot out, grabbing Marcus by the throat. Not squeezing, not yet, but the threat was clear. "Your mother's dead, kid. Has been for 5 years. Whatever she left in that box belongs to us now. So you can hand it over nice and easy, or I can take it off your corpse. Your choice." Marcus couldn't breathe. The pressure on his windpipe wasn't enough to choke him, but it was enough to remind him how fragile his life had become. "Okay," he gasped. "Okay, just let go." The hand released. Marcus sucked in air, coughing. "Smart boy." The man snatched the envelope from his hands. "See, that wasn't so hard." He tore it open and pulled out the contents. Papers. Dozens of them. Spreadsheets, photographs, handwritten notes. The man rifled through them, his expression shifting from satisfaction to confusion to something that looked almost like fear. "What the hell is this? What? These aren't..." He flipped through more pages. "These are copies. Photocopies." Marcus's blood went cold. What do you mean? I mean someone already took the originals. The man grabbed Marcus by the collar. Where are they? Where are the real documents? I don't know. I just opened the box and took what was inside. You're lying. I'm not, I swear. The driver spoke without turning around. Vic, we got a problem. I know we got a problem. The kid's playing us. No? I mean we got a problem. The driver's voice tightened. We're being followed. And if you thought Marcus was in trouble before, it just got 100 times worse. Stay with me now, because what happens next is going to change everything. The man called Vic twisted in his seat, peering through the rear window. I don't see anyone. Black sedan, 3 cars back. Been on us since the highway. Lose them. The SUV accelerated, weaving between lanes. Marcus was thrown against the door, then the center console, then back again. His stomach lurched. Still there, the driver said. They're good. Then get off the highway. Take the industrial route. The vehicle swerved onto an exit ramp. Marcus caught a glimpse of a road sign, Xander Industrial Park, before they plunged into a maze of warehouses and abandoned factories. Vic grabbed his radio. This is Unit 7. We've got a tail. Requesting backup at the Xander location. Static crackled. Then a voice. Copy Unit 7. Backup en route. ETA 15 minutes. 15 minutes. That was how long Marcus had before reinforcements arrived. 15 minutes to figure out how to survive this. The SUV skidded to a stop outside a building with boarded windows and a collapsing roof. Vic yanked Marcus out of the vehicle, gun pressed to his spine. Move! They pushed him through a rusted door and into darkness. The air was thick with dust and decay. Somewhere water dripped in a steady rhythm. Sit. Vic shoved him into a metal chair. And don't move. Marcus sat. His eyes adjusted slowly to the gloom. He could make out shapes, old machinery, broken pallets, the outline of a catwalk overhead. And something else. A figure stepping out of the shadows. Hello, Marcus? The voice was familiar. Too familiar. Detective Mercer emerged into a shaft of light filtering through a broken window. He was dressed differently now. No badge, no uniform, just dark clothes and a smile that made Marcus's skin crawl. Surprised to see me? You're supposed to be a cop. I am a cop, a very well-paid one. Mercer pulled up a chair and sat across from him. You know, I've been waiting for this moment for a long time. 14 years to be exact. You killed my mother. No. Mercer shook his head. I gave the order. There's a difference. I didn't pull the trigger myself. I had people for that. Rage boiled up in Marcus's chest. He lunged forward, but Vic's hand slammed him back into the chair. Easy, Mercer said. We're just talking. For now. I'm going to kill you. With what? Your righteous anger? Mercer laughed. Kid, I've been threatened by men twice your size and 3 times your age. They're all dead now. You want to know the secret? Marcus said nothing. The secret is patience. Your mother had evidence that could have destroyed everything I've built, everything my partners have built, but she couldn't use it not without exposing herself, so she hid it. Waited. Thought she could outlast us. She almost did. Almost isn't good enough. And now, Mercer held up the photocopies. Now I find out she was smarter than I gave her credit for. These aren't the originals, which means somewhere out there the real documents are still waiting to burn us down. He leaned forward close enough that Marcus could smell the coffee on his breath. Where are they, Marcus? Where did your mother hide the originals? I don't know. Wrong answer. Pain exploded across Marcus's face. Vic had hit him open-handed, but hard enough to split his lip. Blood filled his mouth. Let's try again. Mercer's voice remained calm. "Where are the originals?" "I told you I don't know. I didn't even know the lockbox existed until last night. And yet you showed up at that exact bank, at that exact time, with that exact account number." Mercer tilted his head. "Someone told you. Someone who knows where the real documents are." "Nobody told me anything. My mother left a note in a locket." "A locket?" Mercer's eyes sharpened. "What locket? Where is it?" Marcus's hand went automatically to his pocket. Empty. The locket was gone, taken when they searched him in the SUV. Mercer snapped his fingers. Vic produced the locket chain dangling. This, Mercer examined it carefully. A wolf's head. Steel Legion design. Your mother always did have a soft spot for those bikers. He pried it open, found nothing inside. The note was already gone, crumpled somewhere in Marcus's other pocket. There was something in here. A message. Where is it? Marcus said nothing. His lip throbbed. His mind raced. The feds had said they'd be tracking him, said they'd move in when the crows took him somewhere. But he'd been here for 10 minutes already, and there was no sign of rescue. No sirens, no breaking doors, no agents in body armor. Maybe they'd lost the signal. Maybe they'd never intended to come at all. Maybe he was on his own. Now listen closely, because Marcus is about to make a choice that will determine whether he lives or dies. And it's not the choice you think. I'll tell you where the originals are. Mercer's eyebrows rose. You will, on one condition. You're not in a position to make conditions. Yeah, I am. Marcus straightened in the chair, ignoring the blood dripping down his chin. Because you need what's in my head more than you need me dead. Kill me now, and you'll never find those documents. But let me go, and I'll take you right to them. Mercer studied him for a long moment. You're bluffing. Am I? My mother spent 14 years hiding that evidence. She moved us 6 times, changed our names twice, built an escape route so complicated that even your people couldn't follow it. You think she'd leave everything in one place? One lockbox? A flicker of doubt crossed Mercer's face. There's a backup, Marcus continued, building on the lie. A second location. She told me about it before she died. Told me to only go there if something happened to the first hiding spot. Where? Let me go, and I'll show you. Mercer laughed. You expect me to believe that... I expect you to be smart enough to know you're out of options. Marcus held his gaze. Those photocopies are useless. The feds are building a case against you. I met with their agents this morning. They know about Brennan shipping. They know about the money laundering. They know about you. Something changed in Mercer's expression. The amusement faded, replaced by something harder. What agents? Treasury Department. Williams and Chen. They've been tracking the crows for years. Marcus leaned forward. They've got enough to arrest you right now. The only reason they haven't is because they're waiting for me to deliver the evidence that'll put you away for life. Vic shifted uncomfortably. Boss, if the feds are really... Shut up. Mercer's voice was ice. He's lying, trying to rattle us. Am I... Marcus pulled out the crumpled note from his pocket, the one from the locket, the one with his mother's handwriting. She left instructions. Backup location, access codes, everything. But it's not in this note. It's in my memory. Kill me, and you'll never get it. Mercer stared at the note. At Marcus. At the blood on his chin, and the defiance in his eyes. You're just like her, he said quietly. Same stubbornness. Same stupid courage. She thought she could outrun us too. She did outrun you, for 14 years. And even dead, she's still winning. The slap came faster than Marcus could react. His head snapped sideways, stars exploding behind his eyes. Don't get cocky, kid. Mercer stood. You want to play games? Fine. We'll play. He nodded at Vic. "Put him in the van. We're going for a ride." They dragged Marcus to his feet and out a side door. A cargo van waited engine running. 2 more men stood beside it, reinforcements who'd arrived while Marcus was inside. 5 against 1 now. No weapons. No allies. No plan. Just a tracker under his skin, and a prayer that someone was watching. They threw him in the back of the van. Vic climbed in after him, gun drawn. "Where's this backup location?" "Downtown." Marcus made it up as he went. "There's a storage unit on Lafayette. My mother rented it under a fake name." "What fake name?" "Sarah Mitchell, Unit 1147. Vic relayed the information to the driver. The van lurched into motion. Marcus closed his eyes. Every second they drove was another second for the feds to track him. Another second for Hawk to figure out what had happened. Another second closer to either rescue or death. The van stopped. Vic grabbed Marcus's arm and yanked him out. They stood in front of a storage facility, rows of orange doors stretching into the distance. "Find Unit 1147, Mercer ordered. "The kid goes in first." They marched him through the facility past units labeled with numbers climbing toward 1147. Marcus's mind raced. There was no Unit 1147. There was no Sarah Mitchell. There was nothing here but his desperate lie and the seconds ticking away. "Here," one of the men pointed. 1147. The door was locked with a combination padlock. "Open it," Mercer said. "I don't know the combination." "You said your mother told you everything." "She told me the location. The combination's written somewhere else, in the original documents." Mercer's face darkened. "Cut the lock." Bolt cutters appeared. The padlock snapped. The door rolled up. Inside empty. Nothing but concrete floor and dust. "You lied to me." Mercer's voice was deathly quiet. "I didn't." The gun pressed against Marcus's temple. Cold metal. Final judgment. "You've got 3 seconds to tell me where the real documents are, or I put a bullet in your brain and take my chances." "Please." 1. "I'm telling you the truth." 2. "Wait. Wait," Marcus's voice cracked. "My grandmother, Nana Rose. She knows my mother told her everything before she died." Mercer paused. "The old woman from the bar. Yes, she's at the hospital. She's got the information, all of it." For a long moment, nothing moved. Marcus could feel his heartbeat and his throat could taste blood and terror on his tongue. Then Mercer smiled. "See, that wasn't so hard." He lowered the gun. "Change of plans, boys. We're going to the hospital." What Marcus just did might have saved his life, but he's also sent the enemy straight toward the people he loves. If you're watching this and wondering how he's going to fix this, stay with me. The night isn't over yet. They dragged him back to the van. Mercer made calls, low, urgent conversations that Marcus could only catch pieces of. "The old woman knows. Yeah, still at Detroit General. No, don't move yet. Wait for my signal." The van headed back toward downtown, toward the hospital, toward Nana Rose. Marcus's mind churned. He'd bought himself time, but at what cost? If Mercer got to Nana Rose, if the Crows raided the hospital, if Hawk and the Legion weren't ready, his phone. The burner phone Hawk had given him was still in his pocket. They'd searched him for weapons for the locket, but they hadn't thought to check for a cheap flip phone. Slowly, carefully, Marcus reached into his pocket. His fingers found the phone, found the single button that would dial Hawk's number. He pressed it. No sound. No vibration. The phone was set to silent, thank God, but somewhere Hawk's phone was ringing. And if Hawk answered, if he could hear what was happening, "What are you doing?" Vic's eyes locked onto Marcus's hand. "Nothing. My leg's cramped." Keep your hands where I can see them. Marcus pulled his hand out of his pocket, leaving the phone inside the line open. He could only pray Hawk was listening. We're 5 minutes out, the driver called. Good. Mercer checked his weapon. Here's how this goes. We walk into that hospital, we find the old woman, and we get what we came for. Anyone tries to stop us, they die. Simple. What about the bikers? What about them? They're not going to start a war in a hospital full of innocent people. They're criminals, but they're not stupid. Marcus thought about Hawk, about Nana Rose, about 98 bikers who'd ridden through the night to protect a woman they called family. Mercer was wrong. The Legion wasn't just a gang. It was a family. And families didn't back down when one of their own was threatened. The van slowed. Through the windshield, Marcus could see the lights of Detroit General. And something else. Motorcycles. Dozens of them. Lined up in the parking lot, engines running. Mercer cursed. What the hell? They're waiting for us, Vic said. How did they know? Because I called them, Marcus thought. Because my father is out there. Because for the first time in my life, someone's coming to save me. Pull around back, Mercer snapped. Service entrance. Move. The van veered away from the main entrance, circling toward the rear of the hospital. But as they rounded the corner, headlights blazed to life. Motorcycles, 6 of them, blocking the road. And in front, standing beside his Road King, with arms folded across his chest, was Hawk. Ram them, Mercer ordered. Boss, those are... I said ram them. The van accelerated. The bikers didn't move. 50 feet. 40. 30. At the last second, Hawk raised his hand. The bikers scattered, not in retreat, but in formation. They peeled away to either side, revealing what they'd been hiding behind them. A semi-truck. Jackknifed across the road, blocking any escape. The van's brakes screamed. Too late. The front end crumpled against the truck's trailer, throwing everyone forward. Marcus slammed into the seat in front of him, pain exploding through his shoulder. Then everything went silent. For 3 heartbeats, nothing moved. Then the van's rear doors flew open. Hawk stood there, backlit by motorcycle headlights, a shotgun in his hands. Get out of the van, now! Mercer raised his gun. You're making a mistake, biker. My only mistake was letting you live this long. Hawk's voice was cold. Where's my son? Marcus pushed himself up. Blood ran down his face from a cut on his forehead, but he was alive. He was alive. Dad. The word came out before he could stop it. First time he'd ever said it. First time he'd ever had someone to say it to. Hawk's eyes found him. For just a second, the hardness cracked. Something raw and fierce blazed through. Come on, son. Time to go home. Marcus stumbled toward the open doors. Vic grabbed for him, but Hawk's shotgun boomed, and the man dropped screaming, clutching his shattered knee. Mercer fired. The shot went wide, punching through the van's ceiling. Before he could fire again, 3 bikers were on him, dragging him out, slamming him against the pavement. You're dead, Mercer spat. All of you. The crows will burn this whole city. The crows are finished. A new voice cut through the chaos. Agent Williams stepped out of the shadows badge, gleaming. David Mercer, you're under arrest for murder, conspiracy, money laundering, and about 30 other charges I'll read you on the way to federal lockup. Mercer's face went white. You can't. I can. I have. And your boss, the one you've been protecting all these years, he's being arrested right now, along with everyone else on your payroll. Williams smiled grimly. Your organization is done, Mercer, and it's all thanks to a 14-year-old kid and his mother's evidence. What evidence? The copies were useless. Who said anything about copies? Williams held up a thick folder. The originals were exactly where Lydia Cole said they'd be, in the only place no one would ever think to look. Marcus frowned. What do you mean, where? Williams looked at him. With Nana Rose. Your mother mailed them to her 12 years ago with instructions to hand them over only when you came looking. She's had them this whole time. The world tilted. His mother. 12 years ago. Planning for a moment she'd never live to see. Planning for him. Take him away, Williams ordered. Agents swarmed Mercer, cuffing him, reading him his rights, dragging him toward a waiting federal vehicle. And then it was over. Marcus stood in the hospital parking lot, surrounded by bikers and federal agents, and the wreckage of a van that had almost become his coffin. His face was bloody. His body ached. His mind struggled to process everything that had happened. But he was alive. And for the first time in 5 years, he wasn't alone. Hawk crossed to him, shotgun-lowered eyes searching his face. You okay? I think so. You did good, son. Hawk's hand landed on his shoulder. Your mother would be proud. Marcus looked at him, this man who was a stranger and a father and something in between. Take me to Nana Rose. I want to see her. Hawk nodded. Let's go home. The hospital corridor stretched before Marcus like a tunnel between two worlds, the one he'd been running through for 14 years and the one waiting just beyond the next door. His sneakers squeaked against the tile, blood still drying on his face, his father's hand steady on his shoulder. Hawk hadn't let go since they'd walked through the emergency entrance. Not when the nurses rushed toward them with gauze and questions. Not when Agent Williams pulled them aside for a final debrief. Not when the news crews began gathering outside, hungry for the story of a corrupt detective and a decades-old conspiracy. She's this way, Hawk said quietly. ICU, 3rd floor. They took the elevator in silence. Marcus watched the numbers climb, each one bringing him closer to answers he'd waited half his life to hear. The doors opened. Nana Rose's room was at the end of the hall, flanked by 2 Steel Legion brothers who nodded at Hawk and stepped aside. Through the window, Marcus could see her propped up in bed, more alert than she'd been hours ago, talking animatedly to someone seated beside her. A woman. Young, maybe mid-20s, with dark hair and sharp eyes that looked painfully familiar. Who's that? Hawk's grip tightened on his shoulder. Someone you need to meet. They pushed through the door. Nana Rose's face lit up the moment she saw them. There he is, my hero. She held out her arms. Come here, boy. Let me look at you. Marcus crossed to her bedside and let her take his hands. Her grip was stronger than it had been the rest, and fluids doing their work, but her eyes glistened with unshed tears. You're hurt. I'm okay. Just a few cuts. Liar. She touched the gash on his forehead. You look like you went 12 rounds with a bulldozer. Felt like it. She laughed, a genuine sound that seemed to fill the room with warmth. Your mother was the same way. Stubborn as a mule, wouldn't admit she was hurting until she collapsed. The mention of his mother brought everything rushing back. The lockbox, the evidence, the truth that had been hiding in plain sight for 12 years. Agent Williams said you had the originals, the real documents, all this time. Nana Rose nodded slowly. Your mama sent them to me not long after she disappeared, along with a letter explaining everything, who to trust, who to watch out for, what to do, if you ever came looking. Why didn't you tell anyone? Why didn't you use them? Because she asked me not to. Nana Rose's voice softened. She said the time had to be right. Said you had to be the one to bring it all together when you were old enough to understand what it meant. I was 9 when she died. I could have. You were a child. Nana Rose squeezed his hands. A grieving, traumatized child who'd just watched his mother murdered. What was I supposed to do? Show up at your foster home with a folder full of evidence and tell you to go take down a criminal empire? Marcus's throat tightened. She was right. He knew she was right. But the years of running, of hiding, of sleeping under bridges and eating from dumpsters, all of that could have been different. I looked for you, Nana Rose's voice cracked. Every day for 5 years I looked. But you were in the system bouncing between homes, and by the time I found a trail, you'd already aged out and disappeared. I didn't want to be found. I know, and part of me understood that. But it broke my heart, Marcus, knowing you were out there somewhere alone while I sat on the one thing that could have set you free. If you're feeling the weight of this moment, you understand why some stories take years to tell. Marcus and Nana Rose have been circling each other for 14 years, and now finally they're face to face. The woman in the corner chair cleared her throat. Marcus had almost forgotten she was there. He turned, and the breath caught in his chest. She looked like his mother. The same dark hair, the same sharp jawline, the same way of holding herself like she was ready to fight or fly at a moment's notice. Marcus? Hawk stepped forward. This is Elena, your sister. The word hit like a physical blow. Sister? Elena stood. She was tall, athletic, with eyes that held the same storm Marcus saw in the mirror every morning. Half-sister, she corrected. Same father, different mothers. Marcus stared at Hawk. You have another kid? It's complicated. Seems like everything with you is complicated. Elena almost smiled. He's got a point. I didn't know about you, Hawk said quietly. Not until 3 years ago. Elena's mother, she was someone I knew before Lydia. Before the club. We had one night together and then she left. Never told me she was pregnant. Sounds familiar, Marcus muttered. Yeah. Hawk's jaw tightened. Apparently I have a type. Women who run when things get hard. Elena stepped closer. I grew up in California. My mom told me my father was dead. It wasn't until she passed away that I found letters she'd never sent talking about a biker in Detroit named Hawk who didn't know I existed. So you came looking. So I came looking. She studied his face. You look like him. Same stubborn chin. Great. Another thing to blame him for. Nana Rose laughed, then winced, pressing a hand to her bandaged shoulder. Lord, you two are going to be trouble. We're cold blood, Elena said. Trouble's in the DNA. Marcus didn't know what to feel. An hour ago, he'd been alone in the world, a homeless kid with no family, no future, no one who'd notice if he disappeared. Now he had a father, a grandmother, a sister, and 98 bikers who'd apparently adopted him into their ranks. It was too much, too fast. His legs buckled. Hawk caught him before he hit the floor. Easy. When's the last time you ate? I don't remember. That's what I thought. Hawk guided him to a chair. Stay here. I'm getting you food. I don't need... It wasn't a question. Hawk's voice brooked no argument. You're my son. You don't get to starve yourself anymore. He left the room. Marcus slumped in the chair, suddenly exhausted beyond measure. The adrenaline that had been carrying him for the past 12 hours was finally draining away, leaving nothing but hollow fatigue. Elena sat down across from him. This is a lot, isn't it? You could say that. I've been here 3 years. I'm still figuring it out. She leaned forward. Can I give you some advice? Do I have a choice? Not really. Her eyes softened. Don't try to understand it all at once. Just take it one day at a time, one conversation at a time, one meal at a time. Is that what you did? It's what I'm still doing. She glanced at Nana Rose, who had closed her eyes, drifting into a light sleep. She's the key, you know, to all of it. Hawk's tough, but she's the heart of this family. Everything good about the Legion, everything worth protecting comes from her. Marcus looked at the old woman in the hospital bed. Silver hair spread across the pillow, weathered face softened by sleep. The woman who'd taken a bullet for him. The woman who'd kept his mother's secrets for 12 years. She called me her hero, he said quietly. Back at the bar, after I dragged her out. You were. I was just scared. I almost ran. But you didn't. Elena reached over and squeezed his hand. That's what matters. Not the fear the choice you made, despite it. The door opened. Hawk returned with a tray of food sandwich chips, a bottle of water, and set it in Marcus's lap. Eat. Marcus ate. The food was hospital cafeteria quality, bland, processed, barely edible, but it tasted like the best meal he'd had in months, maybe years. Halfway through the sandwich, his phone buzzed. Not the burner phone that was gone, lost somewhere in the chaos. This was a new phone pressed into his hand by Agent Williams before they'd parted ways. A text from an unknown number, turn on the news. Channel 4. Marcus looked at Hawk. Do you have a TV? Nurse's station. They found a television in the small waiting area down the hall. A handful of Legion brothers were already gathered around it, watching with grim satisfaction. On screen, a reporter stood outside a federal courthouse microphone, clutched in her hand. What authorities are calling the largest organized crime takedown in Detroit history. Federal agents have arrested 37 individuals connected to the so-called Black Crows organization, including Detective David Mercer, who faces multiple charges of murder, corruption, and conspiracy. The image cut to footage of Mercer being led out of a building in handcuffs. His face was a mask of cold fury, but his eyes, those calculating, predatory eyes, looked defeated for the first time. Among those arrested is Congressman William Brennan, whose family's shipping company has been linked to the Crows' money laundering operations for over 2 decades. Marcus's jaw dropped. Congressman. The guy who owned Brennan Shipping, Hawk said quietly. Your mother worked for his company. She found out he was dirty. A congressman. She went up against a congressman. Your mother went up against anyone who stood between her and the truth. Hawk's voice swelled with something like pride. That's who she was. Stay with me now, because what you're about to see is the moment everything Marcus has suffered starts to mean something. This is justice, real justice, paid for in blood and tears and 14 years of waiting. The reporter continued. The key to breaking this case was evidence gathered 14 years ago by Lydia Cole, a former Brennan Shipping employee who was murdered in 2019. Cole's documents, which detailed years of illegal activity, were preserved by family members and delivered to federal authorities earlier today. The screen filled with a photograph. Lydia Cole smiling at the camera, her dark hair caught in a breeze. Marcus's mother. Cole, who left behind a young son, is being posthumously recognized for her bravery in exposing one of Detroit's most dangerous criminal organizations. Authorities say her evidence was instrumental in securing indictments against all 37 suspects. The room fell silent. Marcus stared at his mother's face on the screen. 5 years since he'd seen her alive. 5 years since she'd told him to run and never stop. 5 years of nightmares and grief and running from shadows that finally had names. She did it, he whispered. She actually did it. Hawk's hand landed on his shoulder. No, son. You did it. You finished what she started. The tears came before Marcus could stop them. Not the sobbing, broken kind, the quiet kind. The kind that slipped out when you finally let yourself feel something you'd been holding back for years. He cried for his mother, for the life she should have had, for the birthday parties and graduations and simple Sunday mornings she'd never get to see. He cried for himself, for the scared little boy in that stairwell, for the angry teenager in foster care, for the homeless kid who'd believed he was invisible, worthless, forgotten. And he cried for the future, the one that was suddenly impossibly stretching out before him, full of people who wanted him, protected him, loved him. Hawk pulled him into an embrace. No words, just presence. Just the steady heartbeat of a father holding his son for the first time in 14 years. "It's okay," Hawk murmured. "You're safe now. You're home." The next 72 hours passed in a blur of interviews, paperwork, and conversations Marcus never thought he'd have. Agent Williams returned with updates. The case against the Black Crows was airtight. His mother's evidence, combined with testimony from several arrested members who'd chosen to cooperate, meant convictions were almost certain. Detective Mercer was looking at life in prison. Congressman Brennan had been expelled from office and was facing federal charges that could put him away for decades. The entire network his mother had died trying to expose was crumbling one arrest at a time. "We couldn't have done this without you," Williams told Marcus. "I know it doesn't feel like it, but you're a hero, kid. Your mother would be proud." Marcus didn't feel like a hero. He felt tired, overwhelmed, and more than a little scared of what came next. But he also felt something else. Something he hadn't felt since he was 9 years old, sitting in his mother's lap while she told him stories about brave knights and hidden treasures. He felt hope. Nana Rose was discharged from the hospital on day 3. The doctors wanted her to stay longer, but she threatened to walk out in her hospital gown if they didn't sign the paperwork. "I've spent enough time in this place," she declared, settling into the back of the van that would take her home. "I want to sleep in my own bed surrounded by my own family." Marcus rode with her. Hawk drove Elena in the passenger seat, the Road King rumbling along behind them in a convoy of motorcycles that stretched for 3 blocks. The Legion's clubhouse wasn't what Marcus had expected. He'd imagined something dark and dangerous, pool tables and beer signs, and men plotting crimes in shadowy corners. Instead, he found a converted warehouse filled with light warmth and more family photographs than he'd ever seen in one place. Kids ran through the common areas. Women gathered in the kitchen cooking enough food to feed an army. Old-timers sat in corners telling stories that made younger members laugh until they cried. "This is us," Hawk said, watching Marcus take it all in. "Not what you thought, is it? No. The club isn't what most people think. Yeah, we've done things, made mistakes, but at its core, we're just people who take care of each other. Family that chose to be family. And now I'm part of that." Hawk looked at him. "You've always been part of it, even when you didn't know it. Your mother made sure of that." The welcome party lasted until midnight. Marcus met more people than he could keep track of: bikers and their wives, kids his age, and younger veterans of club wars he'd never heard of, and newcomers who were still learning the ropes. Everyone wanted to shake his hand. Everyone wanted to thank him for saving Nana Rose. Everyone wanted to tell him stories about his mother, how she'd laughed, how she'd fought, how she'd loved, with a fierceness that left marks on everyone who knew her. By the time the crowd thinned and the music faded, Marcus was exhausted in a way that felt almost pleasant. He found a quiet corner and sat down, watching the last of the partygoers drift away. Elena appeared beside him, 2 bottles of water in hand. Surviving, barely. She sat down next to him. "It gets easier. The first few weeks are overwhelming, but eventually you figure out your place." "What's your place?" "I help manage the legitimate side of things. Businesses, investments, charity work." She smiled. "Turns out having a sister with a law degree comes in handy." "You're a lawyer." "Passed the bar 2 years ago. Wanted to do something meaningful with my life." She looked at him. "What about you? Any idea what you want to do?" Marcus thought about it. A week ago, his only goal had been finding his next meal. Now he had options, real options, for the first time in his life. "I don't know yet," he admitted. "Maybe go back to school, get my GED, figure out if I'm good at anything besides surviving." "You're good at a lot of things, Marcus. You just haven't had the chance to discover them." If you've ever wondered what it feels like to go from having nothing to having everything, this is it. This moment right here. When the world finally stops punishing you and starts making room for you to grow. The night wound down. Bikers headed home. Lights dimmed. Marcus found himself standing outside the clubhouse, staring up at the sky. The rain had finally stopped, and for the first time in days, stars were visible, faint, struggling against the city glow. But there, his mother had loved stars. She'd taught him the constellations when he was little, pointing them out through apartment windows and fire escapes. "That one's Orion," she'd say. "The hunter." He spent his whole life chasing things he couldn't catch, but he never stopped trying. That's the point you keep going even when it seems impossible. Talking to her. Hawk appeared beside him, leather jacket creaking as he moved. "How did you know?" "I do it too, every night for 5 years." And he looked up at the sky. Sometimes I swear I can hear her answer. "What does she say?" "Different things. Depends on the night." Hawk paused. "Tonight I think she'd say she's proud of you. Proud of both of us." Marcus let that sink in. "I'm scared." "Of what?" "Everything. Having a family. Having people who depend on me. Having something to lose." Hawk nodded slowly. "That's the hardest part. When you've got nothing to fear. But when you've got everything," he turned to face Marcus. "You've got everything to fight for." "I don't know how to do this. How to be part of something." "Nobody does, not at first." Hawk put his hand on Marcus's shoulder. "But you learn, day by day, choice by choice. And you're not doing it alone, that's the whole point." They stood in silence for a while, father and son watching the stars emerge from behind the clouds. "Thank you," Marcus said finally. "For what?" "For waiting. For not giving up on me even when you didn't know where I was." His voice caught. "For being here now." Hawk pulled him into another embrace, quicker this time, but no less meaningful. "Thank you for coming back," he said. "For giving us a chance to be the family we should have been all along." Behind them, the clubhouse door opened. Nana Rose appeared in her wheelchair, Elena pushing her, both of them smiling. "You two done having your moment?" Nana Rose called. "Because there's still cake left and I'm not about to let good food go to waste." Hawk laughed. "Coming, Ma." He started toward the door, then paused, looking back at Marcus. "You coming, son?" Marcus took one last look at the stars, at Orion, still hunting, still chasing, still refusing to give up. Then he turned and walked toward his family. "Yeah, Dad, I'm coming." The night Marcus Cole walked into the Iron Horse, he was a homeless kid with nothing but a backpack and a locket he didn't understand. He had no family, no future, no reason to believe tomorrow would be any different from yesterday. 24 hours later, he'd saved a woman's life, discovered his father met his sister, helped bring down a criminal empire, and found a place where he finally truly belonged. Some people spend their whole lives searching for home. Marcus found his in the most unlikely place in the heart of a motorcycle club, surrounded by bikers who cried when they thought they'd lost their matriarch, and who welcomed a stranger because he'd risked everything to save her. 3 weeks after that fateful night, Marcus stood before the full membership of the Steel Legion MC. 98 bikers assembled in the main hall, watching as Hawk pinned a prospect patch to his vest. "This isn't because you're my son," Hawk said loud enough for everyone to hear. "This is because you earned it. You showed courage when most people would have run. You showed loyalty when you had no reason to. And you proved that the blood running through your veins, Coal Blood Legion blood, means something. The room erupted in cheers. Bikers pounded tables and stomped boots. Someone started a chant that spread like wildfire through the crowd. Family, family, family. Marcus looked out at the sea of faces, his grandmother beaming from her wheelchair, his sister applauding beside her, his father standing tall with tears in his eyes. And somewhere, somehow, he swore he could feel his mother watching. "You did good, baby," he could almost hear her say. "You found your way home." Marcus Cole had spent 14 years running from the past. Now, finally, he was running toward the future. And this time he wasn't running alone.